Hi everyone, hello and welcome to the second masterclass we are running. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so happy to see so many of you logging in so quickly. We did a live before and we had so many people joining in, so many fantastic questions, and we have been overwhelmed again by how many questions you have thrown into us, and we are here to answer them today. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm Lisa Shelley, our community manager, and I'm joined here by two members of our fantastic team. Beatrice, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Beatriz. I'm a pharmacist and I work at Formulate Botanicals as the technical research coordinator. And I hope to help you with some technical questions today.
And she's fabulous. And they are always so busy. Our education team, they work so hard. So to have their time today really is a wonderful opportunity. So please do ask us a question and we will get to it, we promise you. And also we have the lovely Lorraine. Lorraine, please do the honours.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's so nice to have you with us. I can see lots of people on already. I can see lots of people leaving comments in the chat. It is amazing to have you here. I really hope you're enjoying the masterclass. Have you all watched episode 8? Leave me a comment in the chat if you've watched episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I want to see lots of yeses. And I really hope that you're having a great time because we're here to teach you how to formulate. Tens of thousands of people are taking part. I think we're almost at 40,000 now. And you're going to have such an amazing time once you get stuck in. So I can't wait for this evening. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be great. And a few people have said that haven't started yet, and that's absolutely fine. We have people doing this masterclass at all different stages. People see it a little bit later. People are there early. It's absolutely fine. Just watch the lessons as soon as you can. Make as many notes in your, Lorraine, are we ready?
Not quite.
In your workbook, which you can find in your study area. We won't be answering that question where you can find your workbook here, because you can find that in your study area. As soon as you get your free ticket, everyone should have their workbook. Thank you everyone for telling us if you've been watching the lessons. Loads of people on 8. Well done. That's really, really good. Tons and tons of yeses. So thank you so much. I can see you know your stuff. As we go through, as I say, please ask us a question. We will get to as many as we can. So we really do want to help you to get through this masterclass and watch all the lessons and help you as we go through. So let's get to it, because I know we have so many. So thank you so much for your questions. Let's start it off. I'm gonna start with a question from the lovely Eva, who says, mine is too thick. I used a small hand mixer. Could that be the reason, or was my measuring not exact enough? Beatrice, what do we think?
Well, yes, it is possible, because if you mix too much your emulsion, you can have bubbles of air bubbles trapped inside your emulsion, so it will make it have greater volume, so it will appear thicker. So yeah, it's possible.
Great. Okay, next question. Okay, should the bottles be 50 ml because we have 50 grams of ingredients? Can they be smaller? Does air matter? I think they mean when air gets into the space. This is from Mary Kuna. Lorraine, what do we think?
Well, we're teaching how to make 50 grams of eye cream. Now, I just want to point out that 50 grams and 50 mils aren't the same thing. Volume and weight are different. However, if you get like a 30 ml bottle, which is also what you see us use in the videos in the masterclass, you'll have more than enough. And that means that if there's some wastage, just go and apply that straight away if you want to. But that way you'll be able to very comfortably fill a 30-gram bottle. And air does matter. Yes, you want to try and not have big gaps of air in your pump bottle. I mean, you don't want like a 250 ml bottle that you put 30 grams of eye cream into, for instance. That wouldn't be a good thing.
So air does matter. Right.
Air matters.
I just want to say a quick hello to everyone. There's tons of hellos. All the comments get kind of like mixed when we first start. Someone from Tunbridge Wells, so I know that very well. Hello to Magdola, who's in Tunbridge Wells. People from LA, India. We really do have an amazing international community, so thank you so much, and hello to everybody. Okay, next question. Kenyan, I think that is, says, can I use cannabis sativa seed oil for in the eye emulsion? I think they mean in the cream in general. Beatrice, what do we think?
Yeah, well, it's a carrier oil. As far as I know, it doesn't contain any sensitizers, so I don't see any problem in using it.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we want you to go and experiment with lots of different oils. There are so many amazing ones. And if you've watched episode 8, you watched me hold up a few and talk to you about some others as well. So just go get creative, because this is what will turn you from a recipe follower into a formulator.
Yeah, you get different textures and skin feel. So
and it's
experiment.
good to see so many of these questions are based around people thinking about the kind of the next stage and how they want to adapt it to how they like it, which is how you become a formulator. So, okay, so next question from Laurie. Can you use a combination of botanicals with antimicrobial activity to provide preservation, e.g. rosemary extract? Beatrice?
Well, that's a complex question because, well, there are plants and extracts that really have antimicrobial activity, but that's different from a broad spectrum activity against microorganisms, which is what we need from a preservative. So you need to be sure that your preservative is broad spectrum and can act against any microorganisms that can grow in your product. So it isn't any antimicrobial extract that will do this. So you need to be sure that you're buying a preservative and not any other extract.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and we cover a lot of this in episode 6, of course, in your masterclass as well. So go and rewatch it again, because we'll talk you through the whole checklist of what to look for when choosing the right natural preservative.
Great, thank you, Lorraine. Just want to show this comment from CT Gordon. Says, love the lessons. Thank you. So thank you back. And right underneath, one from Pat Love saying, just finished watching all the episodes. So thank you so much. We really couldn't do it without you guys. It would just be us. So without your participation, it wouldn't be a masterclass. So thank you so much. Okay, next question. So Dale says, I added more cucumber glycerin at 1.72 instead of 1.5. Will this change the formula dramatically? What can I do? Lorraine, what do we think?
It won't change your formula dramatically. It might make it slightly stickier. It might make it slightly runnier. Like the consistency might be slightly different, but you'll be okay. I mean, glycerin doesn't really have dermal limits as such. It just becomes really sticky the more you add. And cucumber is quite safe to even put neat on the skin, as we all know from, seeing people wear sort of cucumber eye masks when they go to the spa. So no, don't worry too much about it. Just recalculate in your workbook, write down how much you added in total and have a play around and see what you think. This is what makes a formulator after all. However, if you want to be very precise, obviously use pipettes, use your jewelry scales, the ones we showed you in episode 2, and go back and have another go is what I would suggest, Dale. And I will just say, Dale, I saw your photos on Facebook and they were amazing. Absolutely loved it. So cool the way you shared those. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we do notice. Dale's actually posted a couple of times. Yeah, and I've seen those too. So we do notice when you join our community and when you share your formulations, and we really, really want to see them. So please do pop in and share what you've been up to. Even if it goes wrong, just share it. It's all about kind of just having fun. Okay. Question from Amanda. Hi, I would like to know if you're making double the amount, do you have to put twice as much ingredients? It sounds kind of a simple question, but Lorraine, what do you think?
For something this small, yes. It's once you start to move into like the big batch size that it becomes a little trickier. We cover this actually in some of our business diploma when we interviewed one of the contract manufacturers who we're working with. So this is all available to our business students. And she compared it to baking a cake at home and then suddenly baking like 200 cakes. And that's where you have to adjust the recipe slightly. But at this level, when you're making 30 grams or 50 grams, if you're making a 100-gram batch, yes, you just sort of double the weights basically.
Great. Thank you. Okay, next one is from Monica. Monica says, hi, I've read that Geogard ECT tends to lower the pH of formulations. Is it true? And what can we add to raise it? Beatrice?
Well, it depends on the formulation and what are the other components. But if you need to adjust the pH, you can use lactic acid or citric acid solutions to lower the pH, or sodium bicarbonate or sodium hydroxide solutions to raise the pH if you need to. It is very simple, and it's just these are just small adjustments that you'll be able to do.
Great, thank you. Okay.
Powering through these questions. I love it.
We really are. Okay, you said, I think they mean you, Lorraine, but you say the cool down have more than 10%, maybe means can't be more than 10%. I have more than 10% in a few of my creams and it works fine. I think they mean we're saying it should be 10%, but they have some that are more than 10%. Is that going to be okay? Lorraine?
I think it depends on, what's in the cream, which emulsifiers you're using, how much the water phase is, how much the oil phase is. I'm sure you could probably sneak in a few extra percentages here and there. However, as a rule of thumb, we work with 10. We don't want your cream to split. We don't want it to change texture. And yes, once you've been formulating for a while, and I think I've seen Marin's name a few times before, actually, and she might even be in our student community already, possibly, then yeah, play around with it. See how far you can go with it. See what happens. I mean, go and experiment, basically. But we're working with 10%.
Great. Okay. Next one. Please, what are the possible waxes I can use instead of an emulsifying wax? Beatrice, any suggestions?
If you want to change the emulsifier, we have a few suggestions on our workbook, and we showed some other options on lesson 8. So you can take a look. But beware that emulsifying wax, which is an emulsifier, and other waxes like beeswax or carnauba wax are very different products. So these other common waxes won't work as emulsifiers.
Great, thank you.
And I think emulsifying wax is also often a synthetic ingredient, which may not fit with everyone's ethos for what they're making. So yeah,
great.
Come and buy the emulsifiers that we use in the masterclass.
Yes, this is your Bible. If you don't have this, we see so many questions and people are asking before they've even taken a look at this. So we do provide it for you. Okay. So Pramila asks, can this formulation be used as a face cream? Lorraine?
Yes, it can. Now, the answer wouldn't always be yes, depending on where it was meant. Like if we made a body cream, you might not necessarily be able to use it as a face cream because it might have slightly higher percentages of essential oils. But in this case, we haven't got any sensitizers in there, at least none of note that you need to worry about. So it's absolutely fine to add it as a face cream as well, or a hand cream or a body cream.
Great, multi-purpose.
Yes.
Okay, bit of a long one from Maria. I'm not sure if it's going to show. Oh, here we go. It occurred to me that much as our formulation can get contaminated from us putting our fingers in it, can it also get contaminated by our breath? Would we need to wear a mask? From Maria. Beatrice, what do we think?
I don't know if she meant while we are formulating, but well, yes, and even from microorganisms that are in the air. So, well, if you want to wear a mask, that's good and that will certainly help. But if you're preserving your products, that's already a good thing. So you don't have to worry too much. As long as you have all your equipment sanitized
And we really do want people to get to the end of the masterclass. So people do think about this, which is a really good thing to consider. But just getting kind of through the masterclass, like creating your cream is one of the really most important things we want you to do. Okay. Should we dilute a sample or not in order to test the pH? Can you please explain the reason why we should or shouldn't? Beatrice, from Monica.
Well, in fact, that depends on the tool you're using. If you're using pH strips or a pH meter, if you're using pH strips, there's no need to dilute your sample. But if you're using pH meters, there are some equipment with very sensitive probes. And for this equipment, you need to dilute your emulsions. But this will be specified by the supplier. So you need to learn how to use your equipment. But this is more advanced, so I wouldn't worry about it for now. Just use your pH strips and that will be fine.
Just have fun. Okay. Next question from Pamela. Pamela says, hello, I've received the kit. I'm so ready. Great, Pamela. We'd like to hear that. If I use aloe vera or glycerin, do I have to use an emulsifier? Lorraine, can we take this one?
If you're making a formulation that contains water, if you're trying to make an emulsion and it contains a water phase, and that can include aloe vera leaf juice, I suppose in theory it could include glycerin as well, although we add that more as a sort of extract, then yes, you will need to use an emulsifier, because just adding oil and water together won't work. I mean, give it a try, you know, go get some olive oil from the kitchen and put some aloe vera in it. You'll watch, it doesn't work. It will separate. So you have to combine it together with an emulsifier. And emulsifiers are really cool. I mean, obviously, in episode 1 of your masterclass, we talk about what natural means to you. If you don't want to work with emulsifiers, you don't have to. You can also make things like balms and butters and oils where you just work with what we call anhydrous ingredients, which are waterless ingredients, effectively, and to create beautiful waterless products. But yes, you do need an emulsifier if you want to make an emulsion.
Great, thank you. Okay. Monica has just messaged, she still needs to catch up, but that's fine, Monica, you've got loads of time, so please do not worry. So Mitz says, if I don't have a cucumber glycerate, but I have glycerin and I have cucumber extract, can I combine both of them together, and how would I know how much of each to use? Beatrice.
Well, you can make your own extracts and glycerides. We have a whole blog post about how to make your own glycerides, so you can take a look. But, well, yeah, it's possible, but you have to see how to do it and see it in more detail than we can share with you right now.
Yeah, so baby steps.
Yeah. I mean, making extracts is fun, and as Beatrice said, we have a whole blog post for it, so go and read about it.
Okay. Next one from Patty. In the current formulation of the eye cream, could you use Olivem 25? Do you have any surfactant suggestions? Beatrice, coming to you a lot today. This is from Patty.
Okay, that's why I'm here. In fact, I don't know Olivem 25, but well, you can use other emulsifiers if you want to try them, and that's no problem. You just have to adapt maybe your formulation a little bit, but you can try and experiment with other options. That's no problem.
I've just Googled it. It's also by the makers of Olivem 1000, obviously, since it has the same name. And yeah, I mean, I've never worked with it. I'm not entirely sure if it would be accepted as natural, but if that's something you'd like to try, go for it.
I've seen a few people as well saying they don't have their ingredients yet. Please don't worry. We have people making, you know, the cream for a couple of weeks, really. So if you're here, you've just kind of caught on to the second Masterclass Live, then please do not worry. Just get your free ticket, download your workbook, and catch up with the lessons, and you'll be there in a jiffy. Don't worry.
You've got until October 18th. So you've got another 8 days to take part. And as Lisa says, you know, just download your workbook, make your notes, follow along, and then go and have a go yourself.
I'm just going to put this up from Ruth as well. Watching the great episodes, I realized how much more fun I could be having formulating than watching boring films and other things. Thank you for showing me this. So thank you, Ruth.
I love that. What a wonderful comment. Thank you so much, Ruth. I
do think that as well, and I'm scrolling through Netflix. Right. Okay. Next question. From Kay Morrison. Does Formula Botanica recommend optiphen as a preservative, Beatrice?
I don't remember the ink name of optiphen right now, but
phenoxyethanol and capryllyl glycol. I just Googled it.
So phenoxyethanol isn't considered natural, so we don't use it. But, well, there are many other natural preservatives you can use, like Preservative Eco and many others. So you have lots of options. We have some other alternatives in the workbook.
Yeah.
So you can take a look there too.
Find this page, We've listed 4 other naturally derived preservatives here. And yes, optiphen wouldn't be on that list. If you want to work with it, we don't stop you. But if you come and study with us, then we do ask that our students work with natural ingredients.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, next question from Barb Wood. Can I use a rose hydrosol that has a preservative already and skip the adding preservative step? Lorraine, do you know the answer to this one?
I do, and the answer is no, you can't skip it. However, this is where things become a little trickier because you might want to play around a little bit with the amount of preservative that goes in there. However, you're at a beginner stage here, you're taking part in the masterclass, so just follow the instructions, and there might be ever so slightly more preservative in them perhaps you need, but you can't just add a preserved ingredient and then expect the whole to be preserved. That simply wouldn't be possible, so you do need to add the preservative.
Great, thank you. We get loads of questions about equipment, so I'm going to throw this one out from Nikita, who says, can I use a homogenizer instead of a whisker? Beatrice?
Yes, you can. Just maybe for such a small batch, like 50 grams, you won't be able to use your homogenizer very well, so maybe a whisker will be easier. But if you're making bigger batches, that's no problem. You can use a homogenizer. That's okay. That will even help you a little.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, next one from Sharon. Sharon, sorry. Is it possible to use a satirical alcohol in place of Olivem 1000? Beatrice?
No, unfortunately not, because, well, it is a fatty alcohol and not an emulsifier. It helps stabilize the emulsion, but it isn't an emulsifier itself. So you need to use an emulsifier. And lots of emulsifiers, in fact, contain Cetearyl alcohol, but on its own, it won't emulsify your product.
Great, thank you. Lorraine, this one's for you. How do I choose the best ingredients to address issues when there are so many to choose from? So this person is suffering from overload. What do we do?
It's a very good question. I would always suggest you start simple and start small. So just start to get to know some of your ingredients. So for instance, when I started formulating over 10 years ago, I ordered lots of different carrier oils and I just tried one neat every night. Like I would try them for a few days in a row. I just got to know them and I got to understand how they worked with my skin and what they smelled like, and just take your time. You know, this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. And much like with cookery, you're going to get to know your ingredients over time and how they behave. And yeah, I wouldn't try not to feel too overwhelmed by it, because I know that you could, for instance, go to some of the suppliers we list in the masterclass. They have amazing ranges of different ingredients you can buy from them. But I would just choose 1 or 2, start with that, get to know them, and then, you know, eventually start to expand your range as you start to formulate a little bit more. So try not to get overwhelmed too quickly, because honestly, it's just fun. Just soak it up as you're going along at the moment.
Yeah, and just a note, we have a whole ingredient directory with lots of ingredients you can learn in our student library. So we have gathered much information for you. So that's something we can offer for you in our courses.
Yeah, don't feel you have to know everything. I think that is something I see quite a lot, you know, so there's a lot out there. So as Lorraine says, just baby steps.
Yeah, and as Beatrice said, you know, once you enroll with us, we hold your hand and give you all of the info, and she would know that she's producing a lot of the materials in there, and the ingredients directory alone that all of our students get is huge. It's hundreds of pages, and yeah, I mean, we have a lot more resources as well.
Yeah, great. Okay, this is Maren again. Maren says, also, what about adding heat-sensitive oils during the cool down, like, for example, hemp seed oil? Beatrice?
Well, that's no problem. You can add them, but you can add in high amounts because that may cause the emulsion to split. But in small amounts, that's no problem. You can add heat-sensitive oils and other heat-sensitive ingredients too.
Great. Okay, next one. Powering through. Okay, this is from Yana. Looks like in this formulation, the cream comes out rather runny. How do I make it a bit thicker? Lorraine, do you know?
This is where we play around with the different phases and percentages of the emulsifier that we use as well. So for instance, when we were trialing the eye cream for this masterclass, we went through a lot of trials. Our education team tried it out many different times, and we landed, I think, on 4.5% of the emulsifier that we're using. We're not giving you percentages in the masterclass. Don't get too hung up on it. But if percentages is something you feel comfortable with, you know, you could increase the emulsifier slightly. You could perhaps even add some butter into it if you wanted to, rather than just oil. There are lots of different ways to thicken. You can add gums to the water phase. So there are lots of little tips and tricks once you start to move beyond where we are in the masterclass. But we do that with our students. At the moment, we're focusing purely on this eye cream. So if you've made it and it works well and you want to try something else, try a little bit more emulsifier next time, perhaps.
Great, thank you. And a big thank you for all of your questions coming in. If you see me kind of looking up, I'm not being rude. I'm trying to kind of find your questions as we go through. So we will get to as many as we possibly can. Okay, we have one from Ailey Un. What is the difference between Polysorbate 20 and Olivem 1000 as an emulsifier? Beatrice?
Well, Polysorbate 20 isn't naturally derived, so I'm not well acquainted with it, but it's a different emulsifier and give different textures and properties than Olivem. So, well, you have to experiment with different products, and if you want to go with it, you can try it. But as it isn't naturally derived, we don't teach about it in our courses.
No,
Right,
I think
doing the head shake.
Used a fair bit as a solubilizer, possibly. I remember everyone using it about 6-7 years ago. But yeah, we don't work with it because it's not natural.
Yeah.
Great. Question from Moonlight. Is the hydrosol effective as a powder of an ingredient? Can a hydrosol of retinol replace the active ingredient? I'm not sure if they're kind of asking generally or for the eye cream.
This is I think we're getting a couple of things confused here. I mean, a hydrosol is like the distillate, the water distillate that comes out of essential oil distillation. So I'm not sure if the question is the hydrosol as effective as the powder of an ingredient? And that depends entirely on which ingredient we're talking about, I suppose. I've never seen a hydrosol of retinol. I'm guessing that's probably not possible because you can't distill retinol. So I think, unfortunately, we've got a couple of things mixed up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can re-ask Moonlight, but maybe to simplify it so we know what you're asking.
I don't know if you've watched episode 8, Moonlight, but go and check it out because we talk a little bit more about different types of hydrosols in there. And there are amazing amounts of them out there. I mean, if you go to a couple of the suppliers that we've got listed in the masterclass, they'll have a lot in stock. So go and have a look at what's available. But generally, they're plant-based, and retinol, to my knowledge, is not plant-based.
Great, thank you, Lorraine. Okay, so Rima says, what types of oils do you recommend, refined or unrefined, for better results, considering this? Beatrice?
Well, as usual, it depends on what you're looking for. Unrefined oils will provide other components, other compounds besides the fatty acids. So they may have antioxidants, phytosteroids, and other compounds that have their properties. But some oils, some unrefined oils may have some smell or color from these other compounds, and if you don't want it, you can buy refined oils. That's no problem, but the properties will be slightly different.
Great, thank you. I just want to remind everyone we are taking questions based on the masterclass that we're running right now. I can see a lot of questions in there about kind of all sorts of things, because I know there's a lot of things to cover, but we really can't cover it all in an hour. So we're just going to dedicate this hour to the masterclass. But we will try and help you. We know we have our team in the comments, so we will try and help you where we can. Okay. Question from Simha. Can I use prickly pear seed oil in the emulsion base and preservative squalane olive in the face cream? Beatrice?
I'm not sure I understood that part about preservative, but well, you can use prickly pear, seed oil, and squalene in your oil phase of your emulsion, but these aren't preservatives. These are carrier oils.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay.
And I will say prickly pear seed oil is amazing. It's one
Yeah,
of
I
the
do love it.
nicest oils
That's
I've ever used.
Okay, so Perva says, if the temperature increases above 80 degrees by any mistake, can the formulation still be workable? Lorraine, what do we think?
Yes, it can. Oh, well, it depends a little bit on which emulsifier you're working with, but let's assume we're talking about Olivem 1000. Yes, it can. We don't want you to go under the temperature. If you go a little bit over, that's okay. Don't obviously boil the mixture. Once you get it too high, that would probably ruin the cream itself. But yeah, if it goes a little bit up, I wouldn't worry too much about it. And try it, and if it doesn't go right, then you can trace it back, write down all the steps that you took and then try it again and get it up to 70, 75 degrees and see what happens. And then you might find a difference, but give it a go. But hopefully it shouldn't cause any issues.
Great. Okay, so question from Rohini. I don't think we've had this one. Hello, ma'am. Is there any preservative already added in rose hydrosol? Lorraine, do you want to take that one again?
Depends where you're buying it from. So some suppliers will have their hydrosols ready preserved and others won't. We typically recommend our students work with preserved hydrosols because that way it's not contaminated. There's a few myths floating around the hydrosol community that you can distill hydrosols and then they'll remain sterile for months, and it's a water-based ingredient. That simply isn't possible. There will be microbial activity in it. So we recommend you buy from some suppliers who basically distill their hydrosols, preserve them straight away, which also preserves the integrity of the ingredient. But it depends who you buy it from. So go and either buy from one of the suppliers that we've given you in the masterclass, or if you're buying from another supplier, ask for the paperwork, because on the paperwork it should show exactly what's in the ingredient.
Great. This is another one for you, Lorraine. MC Silver Ninja, great name, says, how will I know if my desired ingredient is incompatible in the formula?
That's a broad question. It's a good one. I mean, I understand why you're asking that, because it's very easy to look at all of your ingredients and think, my goodness, how do I know if this works or not? I mean, we start very simple with what you're making. You've watched us use an oil. You've watched us use a hydrosol. We've given you a list of different emulsifiers to work with. You know quite easily that the oils and the hydrosols that you could use will generally work. So you could very easily replace the ones that we've used with a different one, unless you're using a very thick oil like coconut oil and might go horribly wrong. I don't know. Depends where you are in the world. Over here, it'd be solid. Once you start to work with your extracts, again, I mean, we're working with things like CO2 extracts. We haven't put any essential oils in this particular formulation because it goes near the eyes. But if you were working with essential oils, you can typically put other ones in there. It's once you start to move into the sort of more high performance ingredient, the active ingredient territory, that you might find a few things don't work together. But we're not really focusing on that in this masterclass. That's more for once you enroll with Formula Botanica, if you want to. We'd obviously love it if you did, and move into more advanced formulating. But even then, there aren't that many that you look at where you go, that wouldn't work with my formulation. It depends entirely on what you're making and what the ingredient is, though. And that's where, sorry, I'm rambling here, but that's where the suppliers really come in as well, because they give you paperwork and they tell you what sort of percentages you should work with and exactly how it would or wouldn't work in your formulation.
And that's where trying it again also comes into play as well. If you're not too sure, Ninja, then, just try again. And then, you'll have more of an idea. Okay, so Evelyn. Evelyn asks, can I use a little Bakuchi oil in the eye cream? Beatrice?
I think so. No any problem as it's a carrier oil. That's okay.
Great.
Yeah,
Sorry.
very popular. And
Yeah.
give it a go. I mean, if you have some, give it a go. Why not?
Okay. This person asks, can I sue Blue Tansy? But I think they mean use Blue Tansy. Would you recommend this for the eye area, which to my understanding is already a sensitive area? Lorraine?
We have deliberately not chosen essential oils for this formulation because we don't want you to put any sensitizers around your eyes. However, if you did want to use a small amount just to give it fragrance or for therapeutic properties, keep it very, very, very small. I mean, maybe even, like 0.1%. So if you want to use Blue Tansy, obviously do, but maybe more for a face cream or a body cream. It's amazing. It smells heavenly. It is incredibly expensive as well, though, so do keep that in mind.
Okay. Sue asks, if the hydrosol was preserved with preservative eco, can you use this again in the formula, or do we need to change it to another natural preservative? If so, is the rate of the preservative the same? Beatrice?
Complex question.
Take that one step by step.
Yeah. You can use the same preservative in your formula. Ideally, you'd have to calculate and adjust the amount of preservative as you already have the preservative in your hydrosol. But that's more advanced, and we try to keep it as simple as possible for you right now. So I wouldn't worry about it at this moment.
Great, thank you. And the numbers are still rising of the people watching the live. So if you have joined us, just a quick little piece of info. If you've missed the beginning, don't worry. This will be able to be watched as a replay, and we will stamp mark it with all the questions. Well, Wayne is going to take some time and mark it with all the millions of questions that you're asking, which always gives me a little bit of joy. So please don't worry if you've missed the beginning. We will give you the opportunity to go back and watch it. Okay. Lorraine, one for you. What is the difference between an emulsifier and a solubilizer? How do you know which to use? From Christina.
Great question. So both of those, I should start at the top, they belong to the surfactant family, the surface active agent surfactants. Now, surfactants are typically known best because they make things foam, but that isn't always the case because an emulsifier and a solubilizer also fall into that group. They're different in that an emulsifier is going to bind oil and water together, whereas a solubilizer you can use to disperse a small amount of oily ingredients through water. So imagine you make a toner. Imagine you take that rose hydrosol from the Masterclass and you now want to add a small amount of lavender essential oil to it. I was going to go with rose, but too many dermal limits. Lavender. You could disperse that lavender with a solubilizer, and that means that rather than having a toner where you've got the essential oils floating on the top of it, you have it dispersed all the way through. Now, obviously, those are two very different formulations. They're two very different uses. And pretty much as soon as people enroll with us, we start to teach them how to work with naturally derived solubilizers to do exactly that.
Great. This is a really great question from Marzina. Zena says, hello, great classes. I really enjoyed. Thank you very much. I'm wondering if I want to add something into my eye formulation, should I use a smaller amount of one ingredient? What is a fibrillation to replace with the new extract to have the right percentage? Does that make sense? I think she says if she wants to add her own thing, should she take something out of what we have added in our formulation? Like how should she get the right percentage?
Okay. Should I use a smaller amount? I think if you want to add something else, what I would recommend at this stage is that you swap it out like for like. So if you want to try a different oil, remove the jojoba oil, put something else in. If you want to try a different hydrosol, remove the rose hydrosol, put something else in. If you have a different glycerite, take out the cucumber, put something else in. Or try and just maybe halve what you've got there. Like say you want to try 2 hydrosols at once, you could blend them together to make up the total weight that we use in the formulation. If you're first starting out, I would recommend you keep it really simple though, and write down everything you do, because if it works really well, then you'll want to go back and do it again. And if it's a complete disaster, you will want to also go back and analyze what happened. But have fun with it.
I understand this question because I can see in the community a lot of people kind of saying, I want to use this and I want to use this, because people are starting to think of creating new things. So I do see why you asked, Marzina. Good question.
I would, however, say try and learn to walk before you can run. Because over the years, I mean, we've been teaching for over 10 years now at Formula Botanica, and we've seen thousands and thousands of people study with us. And if I had $1 for every single person who started their first formulation with dozens of ingredients, and they got the most expensive extracts and they put them all in, and then the whole thing got scraped into the trash because it was such a disaster, start simple and work your way up. honestly, it will go a lot quicker than you think, and you will understand your formulation better because of it too.
Absolutely. Okay, question from Ankita. Heating the ingredients in an open beaker, does it increase the risk of the formulation being susceptible to mold? Beatrice?
No, not especially. Well, I don't see why it would. When you're formulating, even in other moments besides when you're heating, you'll be using an open beaker as well, so it won't be different than any other moment in your formulation. So, well, that's no problem. I believe that maybe you're afraid some water will condensate inside your beaker, but that won't happen. The water bath won't condensate its water inside your beaker, only the water that's already inside your product. So don't worry.
Great. Okay. Lorraine, this is one for you. What are the options if I want to use my own botanicals instead of buying them? If I wanted to use aloe vera that I grow, from Laurie.
So 2 things there. Firstly, if you're going to work with botanicals that you've grown yourself, you want to make that extract as fresh as possible. So for instance, even in our hair care diploma, one of the formulations we teach has a herbal tea in it that's cooled down, but we've made it and instantly used it and instantly preserved the formulation. So just keep that in mind. So if you're using aloe vera, I have one stood on my shelf here. If I was going to do that, I would literally chop it and extract the gel just before I was going to use it and not leave it lying around. The same goes with, various other extracts that you might choose to make, apart from possibly glycerites and macerated oils, which have a slightly longer shelf life. The second thing I just want to point out is, depending on where you are in the world, it will be quite hard for you to sell products that contain your own botanical extracts, particularly throughout Europe. That is much, much harder to do than, for instance, in North America, because you have to be able to prove the sort of authenticity of the extract that you've made. Now, you might not be looking to make to sell, but obviously a lot of the people who study with us are, so I just wanted to put that one out there as well.
Great. Thank you. This is a question from Kay Morrison. I don't expect the eye cream to stay on the shelf for long. I think they mean that as a compliment. But do we know the shelf life of the eye cream? Should we store it in the refrigerator, and the extra amount? Lorraine?
So we talk a little bit about this in actually one of the VIP videos. So for those of you who are VIPs, we do cover this in one of the videos there. If you want to learn how to calculate the shelf life of your formulation, you need to undertake cosmetic stability testing, which there are lots of different types of tests. I'll put that out there now. You can do some of them in your own home formulation lab. Some of them you have to outsource. There's no way around it, like a microbial challenge test, which tests whether your preservative is actually working in your formulation and for how long the formulation basically stays good in terms of its preservation. So we're roughly working with 3 to 6 months for this one. However, if you used a different preservative, if you had a different blend of ingredients, then we typically find that natural formulations stay good for about 6 to 12 months. Now, on our last live, we had a couple of people sort of go, well, how do I get 2 years? And that's where you obviously have to use those stronger synthetic preservatives, which we don't work with. But they do work, because obviously you can see beauty products in the shops that stay good for longer than that period of time, than 6 to 12 months. But it's a bit like, working with fresh ingredients and fresh food in a way. Do you want something that's sat on your shelf for a really long time, or do you want something that's, fairly fresh and potent for your skin at that point?
And I do see people coveting products as well, and kind of like putting them, just looking at them afar and just not using them a lot. We've made something that we want you to use and get enjoyment of. So, and give away as gifts if you have a little bit extra.
Is this a dig at me, Lisa, with all the
No,
that
wasn't a dig at you, which we won't go into now. But yeah, Lorraine knows what I'm after. We've covered this a little bit, but I'm just going to throw up just so we absolutely get a good answer. What can I do if I want to thicken the eye cream? What kind of thickener could I use? Thank you, from Kirsten. Beatrice?
Well, as Lorraine said earlier, you can thicken your product in various ways. You can increase a little bit the amount of emulsifier. You can add butters in your oil phase. You can use gums in your water phase. So there are various ways to do this, and they will give you different textures and skin feels too, but it's up to you to experiment.
Great, thank you. Okay, so Anna says, hi, can I replace Geogard ECT with Cosguard? What is the difference? Beatrice?
Again, I don't remember exactly the ink names.
I've Googled it for you. It's,
You're so quick.
it's benzyl alcohol and dehydroacetic acid and aqua. So just to add for everyone, as you know, in your masterclass, we teach you what INCI is, the International Nomenclature of Cosmetic Ingredients. So when you give us a trade name, we don't know what's in there. We have to go and Google it to find out the INCI name. So I'm Googling in the background every time you ask this question.
Yeah, well, different preservatives may have different properties relative to their solubility, the pH range in which they work. So you have to look for the information your supplier provide you to see if you need to adapt anything. But if they are broad spectrum, you can adapt your formulation and use any of them. That's okay.
Great, thank you. Okay, I don't think we've covered this one. I can't find cucumber extract in my country. Can I replace it with aloe vera extract? Thank you. Lorraine?
Yes, you can. That's why we work with hydrophilic, so water-loving, and lipophilic, oil-loving ingredients in episode 5 of your masterclass to show you the types of things that you could add in. And when we're working with the cucumber extract, we're working with a teeny tiny amount. So yes, you could replace that. Yeah, have a go.
Great. And this one's a little bit similar. Gisela says, can I use rosehip infused oil instead of rosehip CO2? And how can I measure the difference in this case? Beatrice?
Yeah, you can use it. I know that CO2 extracts aren't so easy to find in some places. At this moment, I suggest you just substitute it one by one. So I use the same amount you'd use for the CO2 extract. And when you get used to formulating, you can adapt these concentrations. But for now, I'd say you just go along with the formulation we provide you and use the same percentages.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. And we covered this a little bit in Q&A one, but a lot of people have asked, so I'll put up one question kind of regarding this area. How can we clean the containers for the product we made? Boil them in hot water or spray with alcohol? Lorraine?
You want to clean them in hot soapy water, and then we use, hang on, I've got some here, I think. Isopropyl alcohol, which you saw me use in episode 2 of the masterclass. I hope you've watched it. If you haven't, go and watch it now. And you spray down your equipment and your containers for this, basically. And it's very straightforward, and it should sanitize your equipment.
Great.
I've seen a couple of people sort of go, you haven't answered my question yet. We're trying to get to everything. So don't worry. If we don't get to you, then the team will come back and answer you afterwards, but we're doing our best. And we also received dozens of questions beforehand that Lisa has already inputted into the system. So we're working through those as well, but don't worry.
Point. We will come back with all the links. Wherever you added your question, we will, well, the education team will come back and answer your question for you. Okay, question from Sondos says, can we add sweet almond oil along with jojoba oil? Beatrice?
Yeah, if you want to use, I don't know, half jojoba oil and half sweet almond oil instead of the whole amount of jojoba oil, you can experiment and see if you like it. Well, you can change the carrier oil as long as you keep the percentage of the oil phase.
Yes, have fun experimenting. It's fun.
And in reference to experimenting, Gregoria asks, can I adapt this and other formulations to be vegan, no animal ingredients, and use only organic? Lorraine?
Yes, and to my knowledge, the formulation we made is vegan. I don't see anything in it that wouldn't be vegan. So this eye cream is vegan and would be accepted as organic as well if we had it certified. If you want to have vegan formulations that you work with, that's absolutely fine. Shouldn't be too hard for you to achieve, actually. Most natural skincare nowadays, unless it contains obviously animal byproducts of things like beeswax, etc., but most of them are vegan. So yes, and make this eye cream because it's vegan.
Great. Just to say, we kind of do go for an hour, kind of just over. So if you do have a question, please throw it in. We will try and get to it. And as Lorraine says, if we don't, we will come back and answer it at a later date. But if you do have a question, now is the time to throw it out there for us.
Yeah.
Okay. You might have to do some quick Googling here. Maram says, can I use liquid Germal Plus as my preservative? And how long will my products last with it? Familiar with that one, Beatrice, or are we Googling?
I'm Googling. I've got it. Hang on. It's opening up.
Thank you.
We've got, oh my goodness, diazolidinyl urea, iodopropanyl butyl carbamate, and propylene glycol. So
yeah, well, this isn't a naturally derived preservative, so it's a different concept than the one we follow here.
Yeah.
But if you want to try it, you can. That's no problem. It just isn't considered natural.
Yeah.
Great. Just pointing this Ninja's back, just with a lovely comment. So many significant points taught in this masterclass. Well worth attending, even for a hobbyist. Thanks so much for doing this. I think that is. Thank you so much, Ninja. Feels weird saying that.
Yeah.
But,
thank you. I mean, we're teaching 40,000 people for free how to formulate. So we genuinely care. We've put a huge amount of effort into getting these materials out for you. They're some of the best materials we've ever made. We absolutely love it. And I'm so pleased that you're enjoying it as well.
Great. I've seen a few people ask questions around putting ingredients in the freezer, or if they have ingredients in the freezer. I think this person is asking, if I store aloe vera in the freezer, what will happen if they use it in their formulation? Will it make any kind of difference, Beatrice?
It isn't usually recommended to freeze your ingredients because this can change their stability. So usually extracts and other cosmetic ingredients don't need to be refrigerated or put in the freezer. And if they do, the supplier will tell you, so there's no need to freeze your aloe vera gel.
Great.
Yeah.
So the space for, other good stuff. Okay. Kayla asks, can I use grapeseed oil as a preservative or anything that may not be chemically processed? Lorraine?
So, Kyla, I want you to go and watch episode 6 in the masterclass, because we talk about exactly how to choose a natural preservative and the sorts of things that you need to be looking for. And the first thing I talk about in that lesson, as we walk through the checklist, there's 8 points in there that we walk through, and they're in your workbook as well. So go and get your workbook and complete the checklist. And we talk about the need for your preservative to be broad spectrum. So it needs to be strong against bacteria, against fungus, against yeast. And grapeseed oil would not be any of those things necessarily. Yes, unfortunately, there's a lot of myths that float around the internet. I will say we've done a really good job at banishing a lot of them over the years. But there's still this, can I use rosemary seed extract, grapefruit seed oil, that sort of thing? I'm afraid not. You're going to have to use a preservative, unless you want to make formulations that don't contain water, in which case you don't need a preservative. And there are many. I mean, you can see some of the graduate products stood behind me. I get sent amazing graduate products from all over the world. Many of those don't contain water and therefore don't need a preservative.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, Google might have to come out again, but we'll see, Lorraine. Okay. So thank you for this masterclass. You're welcome, Candy. Can we use tetrasodium glutamate diacetate with phenol as a preservative?
Yeah. We don't need to Google this one because I know phenoxyethanol isn't naturally derived, so we don't use it. And again, if you want to try it, that's up to you. But that doesn't follow our ethos, so we choose not to use synthetic ingredients.
And I have just Googled tetrasodium glutamate diacetate, and it's a vegetable-derived chelating agent. So that is way beyond what we're teaching in the masterclass at the moment.
Yeah.
We want you to just get started with all of these amazing free materials. And I will just add, if you think the free stuff is good, you won't believe how good our courses are.
Yeah, amazing. I'm going to take about kind of 4 more questions and then kind of wrap up. So if you do have a question, throw it in and I will try and fit it in. But we can go too long with these things. We really do want to answer everything just to help you get through the masterclass. So yeah, we will do our best. Okay. We kind of answered the first part of this already, but the second part, maybe not. If I want to make bigger batches, how do I do it? The second part. Also, can I add distilled water with the hydrosol for my eye cream? And that's from Judy. Beatrice?
Well, we can make bigger batches. Usually in formulation, we use percentages. Here we are teaching you with the exact amount you're using, so it's easier for you to follow the masterclass. But when you're using percentages, it's very easy to calculate bigger batches or batches of any size you want. So I hope this answered the first part. And for the second part, well, if you want to instead use hydrosol and use distilled water or use different amounts of each one, as long as it keep the same percentages, that's okay.
Great. One for you, Lorraine. This is from the lovely Beth. Can you talk about the VIP option? Thanks, because I know we have kind of mentioned that here and there, but what exactly is it for our masterclass people?
Yeah, so there's a button at the top of your masterclass study area, which says, I think you can upgrade to VIP there. And if you do that, I mean, the number one question that we get every time we teach a masterclass, and we've been teaching masterclasses since 2014, number one question is, can I have longer access? I mean, so many people just want lifetime access, first of all, which we can't do. I mean, it's a huge undertaking teaching this for 40,000 people. But everyone says, can I have longer access? So we've made that available for VIP ticket holders. You get an extra month. So the masterclass won't disappear on October 18th. If you're a VIP ticket holder, it will disappear on November 17th. 30 days later. And then you also get access to a special bonus video vault, which has at the moment 9 different videos in it that cover a whole range of other more advanced questions, such as how do I know the shelf life of my cream? How do I set up my formulation lab? That sort of thing. And then there's also like a bonus formulation / recipe book in there with some of the formulations that our team has put together for you. So there's a nice little collection of goodies in there. And if you want to upgrade for £29, then that will be instantly accessible in your masterclass area.
And that value, if you added all that up, would be, you know, it's hard to put a number on it, but the value is definitely more than £29. So yeah, it's a fantastic option. Okay, question from Paula. Hi, it seemed to take a long time for the water phase to reach temperature and my emulsion was quite thick. Could I put this down to the possibility of the water phase evaporating a bit? Beatrice?
Yeah, it is possible. Well, it depends in your equipment, how long you have heated your water phase. A suggestion, if you want, is weight the beaker and tare your scales before adding the ingredients, and then weigh again after heating, so you can see how much you've lost. So that's an idea, but usually we don't lose so much in evaporation, so I usually don't worry too much about it, but you can try to
and also I think, Paula, just try again. Like if you're not too sure, just try it again if you have the ingredients. And you know, obviously, as Lorraine always says, make sure to write down what you've done, and then you'll kind of be able to figure it out as you go. If you make something once, you sometimes can't quite figure out, especially if you're new, what happened. But yeah, just try again. Keep both. Okay. Oh, I think we kind of covered this, but once the eye cream has been made, should it be refrigerated or can it be kept outside? I froze. Lorraine.
Yes, you don't need to refrigerate it. I mean, if you've preserved it correctly and you formulated it correctly, it is ready for you to use at room temperature. So don't worry too much about that. Yeah, it's that simple, really. That's why we run through preservation, because ultimately the beauty products that you buy in the store are also at room temperature. We also don't refrigerate those. So
great.
How are we doing for questions?
I've got 2 more, but I just wanted to pop up this comment from Ruth. Who says, I'm very happy I upgraded. So thank you very much, Ruth. It's nice to know when people are happy. And I will have to wrap up because otherwise Wayne's going to have so many questions to input. He'll be here until 12. So just got 2 more, I think, that I've seen. Okay, this is from Melissa. When labeling bottles, do we use the inky name or the name of the ingredient or both? Lorraine.
You use the inky name. Well, it depends what regulatory area you fall into as well. I've got some graduate products here, for instance. What you typically have with skincare, particularly things that are very delicate, like the eye cream we've made, that you'll notice you don't have much space on the bottle. This is one of the biggest challenges that skincare entrepreneurs have. How do you fit all the ingredients on here? So typically we work with inky names. If you have space, you might want to put the common name behind them in brackets. A lot of people do that. But I would just see what space you have on the label, to be perfectly honest, because you might find if you're using more than, say, 10, 15 ingredients, that it needs to be in very small font, and that might become a bit of a headache. So stick with inky is my advice.
Just had a comment from Kathleen. Thank you. I've just started watching and love what I've heard. Looking forward to more. Thank you so much, Kathleen. We do love to hear that. Another comment from Barb. Thank you so much for this real-time opportunity to ask questions. Love your courses. We love you too. CT Gordon asks, when will be the next masterclass? We haven't finished this one yet. It's a lot of work, and we're not going to answer that. Just stay tuned for the next one. That's all I can say. So I have one more question, and I'm going to throw that to, this is a great one to answer on. So, sorry, to finish on. This is from Julie. I would like to be able to formulate my own recipes. How do I work out what percentage to use for each ingredient? So how does someone become a formulator? Lorraine, this is for you.
It's for me. How do you work out what percentage to work with? Lots of different ways. I mean, first and foremost, you learn how some ingredients behave and how they work. So I talked earlier about the fact that when we made this eye cream, it went through multiple iterations in our education team. We tried lots of different percentages for the emulsifier to get the right consistency. When it comes to an emulsifier, your supplier will give you a range that you can work with. You know, the lowest range and the highest amount and the lowest amount, and then you work between those to create different textures of creams. When it comes to things like extracts, again, those tend to be you tend to get percentage recommendations from your suppliers. So a supplier might, for instance, go, you shouldn't go above 3% of this extract. Then you know what you're working with, and you can obviously go down to 0 and up to 3%. When it comes to things like essential oils, which obviously we haven't worked with in this masterclass, but if you were working with them, you might have some dermal limits. We talked about this in episode 4 of your masterclass as well. And there you have to take into account that if you go beyond a certain amount, that you might cause skin sensitization, because even natural ingredients can cause sensitization. So there are lots of different tips and tricks. We teach you all of this when you enroll with us. Obviously, we can't teach all of it in the free masterclass. We'd be here for months otherwise, but we've given you a really good flavor of, you know, how to choose ingredients, how to get your equipment set up, how to start to layer your ingredients together. When it comes to things like the maths, the percentages, when it comes to things like the formulation techniques and skills, we've done most of that for you in this masterclass just to get you started. So I hope that answers the question.
That's a good answer. We are going to have to wrap it up there. I mean, there's a few questions coming in, but we could honestly be here all evening, but we will go back to every thread, wherever you've rested your question, and go back and try and answer it for you. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us. Thank you, Beatrice. Thank you, Lorraine. The tough work is yours. You're answering the questions. And thank you to everybody that's joined us. And please do follow on with the lessons. I think there is just 2 more. What day are we on? Is it Monday?
Yes.
There's 2 more to go. And thank you everyone for joining in. You are all fantastic and we appreciate you.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone, for attending. It's been absolutely lovely talking to you and answering your questions. Your questions have been great. Now, I've seen a lot of questions come in that don't relate to the masterclass. I'm afraid we just can't. We'll be here for hours otherwise. I've seen things about soap and actives and all sorts of things. We're not covering that in this masterclass. However, if we teach something like that in the future, you know, obviously come and ask us those questions. We'd love to answer them at that particular point. So, I mean, I've seen so many lovely comments from people who've just said, you know, I've absolutely loved the masterclass so far. thank you so much. We're really grateful. And if you enjoyed the free materials, you honestly should see what's in our courses, because this masterclass is just a taste of what's possible. And we have so much more to teach you, because we want to turn you into a formulator. Remember, we always say we're on a mission to teach the world to formulate. So I promise you that if you enrolled with us, by the time you finish our courses, pretty much all the questions that you've asked this evening will actually seem quite straightforward. And we want that for you too. So just stay with the masterclass. We've got 2 more episodes to come. We've got the big live webinar on Wednesday evening, UK time, when Lisa and I will be back. And I think Anna's joining us as well. We'll be powering through lots of more additional information on top of the masterclass. And we've got other bits and pieces coming out over the coming weeks. So just make sure you're signed up for everything. Telegram, come join us on Telegram. It's awesome over there. The SMS, the calendar, sign up for everything. And that way you won't miss out. So huge thank you to you, Lisa. Huge thank you to you, Beatrice. It's lovely to see you on live.
And thank you to everyone saying thank you in the comments as well. I can't put them all up, but yeah, heart to all of you. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. We'll see you all soon. And as I said, we'll be live on Wednesday evening at 1 p.m. Eastern time and 6 p.m. UK time, when we'll be running through 3 secrets that you need to know in order to become an organic skincare entrepreneur. And I will be sharing our exclusive blueprint on how our graduates, and you can see some of them stood behind me with their products, not the people, how they use that blueprint to start their own business as well. So come and sign up for that. It's in your masterclass study area. Put your name down for it. That way you won't miss out and you'll be able to attend live.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. It's been really fun. See you again.
See you soon. Bye.